This is Justin Scoop on Friday, November 21st, 2025. Take a look at SPX. I think we're mostly going to stay in SPX today. I know I was doing both SPX and SPY and SPY plus zero point zero 0.01 yesterday, a whole lot of different things. I kind of want to get back to our normal stuff, but I do want to show you one thing. So we almost made it down to the bottom edge of this channel. It's like, okay, that's so close. Why didn't we sell off and get there? Because that would have been a great place to take some profits right here. We didn't even get that low. And then I was looking at one of my trading view charts. So let me pull that over. And that's when I realized, oh, we've got the 100 simple, no, 100 exponential moving average right there. Didn't quite get there yesterday, tagged that today, and then we bounced. Uh, is it a dead cat bounce? We came up pretty close to 50%, really just past it, 50%. So if you take this is the easy way to get 50% retracement of this candle. Take the high, add it to the low, divide that by two. You can also do it with the open. What's the midpoint of the open to the close? You can do the same thing. Add the open plus the close, divide by two. Just punch into the calculator. That's what I just did right here. So if I added the high to the low of this candle, and I got 13,304.4 divided in two, 6652.2. And the high today was 6660.05. So 8 points past that. Pretty close. I mean, look at the size of that candle. Really close. All right, so there's that. Okay, back to just thinkorswim because there's some other stuff that I noticed. We're kind of drifting downward. Didn't really get some strong movement down. So I'm like, all right, let me look back at what we've done. What's happening here? One thing I did not do yesterday when I was looking at this is I didn't grab the low angle and line it up. And I did that just now. It's like, oh man, look at that. We ran right down here. You line these up, we're right there. Like this, it's telling you it's going to bounce. And then it does it again here. And then if I do the same thing, if I duplicate this, and then if I extend it, move it over here, I have to laugh because I didn't see it during the day today. And it's like, not only did it hit the 100 exponential moving average, but that is spot on where we bounced. I mean, we hit that with some great buying coming in right there. So there you go. That's the place we bounced. Um, I did not like a bear move here. I know some other folks were trading this bearish. I'm like, I'm gonna wait a little bit because I just don't trust after a massive bear day. And I'm pretty sure I said this yesterday. After a massive bear day, it's like I'd rather have the retracement, get back up bullish some than have it just continue. So there was some selling. It worked to short this. You just had to be out real quick because even this, it retraced and then rolled back down, and you think it's the S curve, but then actually this low held, and then this started to bounce, and so we got the squeeze going. You got a lot of things. It's like, okay, if that's a low, where are we going? We're going to go back up to 50% retracement, which we end up getting back up to basically on this candle. This made it up right past 66.52 and we barely got above it. And actually, right here is a high and a hesitate and a trap. And then that did a little S curve down. I took a little snag of a bearish move up here. And then I can show you. I was in another bear move. I think, what candle was it? I think it was off that candle. And I did not expect this to go sideways for so long. And I got stopped on that candle right there. I'm pretty sure it was that. No, it wasn't that candle. I think it was that candle. It was at 220. And it's like, really? And then it went. And so I was the low. I'll show you that. You got to laugh when that happens because it's just crazy. Anyway, so this was the framework. We're making some, oh, you know what? Let's see, does this line up on top too? We haven't really done that on top. If that's the same angle, Okay, it's not the same angle, but it's pretty close. Okay, got through the 100, tagged it with a bear candle, kept running up. Where do we S curve? Right into the 100, kept going. So here's the framework of the day. All right. We've got kind of continuing from yesterday. We've got this angle, somewhat of this angle here. Okay. Looks like we're doing some kind of slightly making some lower lows, lower highs. Okay. We're going to break down and then we're going to retest an S curve, and then we should go lower, and we didn't because the 100 is like right here. The 100's exponential moving average is right here. We bounce, we start getting some really strong candles, get in the 100. Nope, keep on going. Big S curve back into the 100, and then um, a really strong move up. Then we start forming this sort of consolidation with a high, a hesitate, and a trap. That starts to roll over, retest. So we're retesting this bottom edge, roll back down, get a little more retesting into the 21, roll down, but then we kind of go sideways. And it's like, is that going to be it? And I was looking for some more bearishness just because we were so strong. We were right back into this level. I'll show you actually what was happening here when I zoom out again. Break down, retest that, kind of do another stair step, um, and then break down a little bit more. So there's some great bear moves later in the day. There's actually a great bear move all through here, and I'll show you that right now. So this is kind of the framework of the day. I'm going to zoom back out and look at yesterday, and we'll just look left because if you look left to see, okay, here's my cursor, right? We could not quite get back up to this pivot point. Um, but from yesterday's move, we had kind of slowed down here a little bit, retested that level here, and then we were running back into that as resistance today. And we did the same sort of thing. We kind of consolidated like this. Let me do that differently. This was mostly flat, and then this was a lower high or higher lows. And then we broke down, retested, and went, and then we kind of did it again here. Same sort of framework, broke down, retested, and rolled over. So both of these kind of fractal setups, right? Just repeating, same thing, kind of a little higher. The higher one here, that's kind of into this range. Okay, so I'm going to turn off. You can see where that high is here. So where my cursor is, you can look left, see, oh yeah, we're right there. And this high was pretty much right into this level and this consolidation. So we were literally today was retesting where we have been selling off to, where I spent a lot of time framing up on the 30-minute, looking at how we moved through things yesterday. So, okay, let's get back to just the 3-minute here. That's not what I want. I always like having a little bit, like a little candle, a little bit of this gray. There we go. All right, let me zoom back out here. All right, so when this is bouncing, when this is not selling off and we're actually holding this as the new low, right? The option, this is the 66.25, that's coming down sharp. Okay, so now we're looking at that kind of angle. Well, it's actually a sharper angle because the option, the calls just lose in value, right? So that didn't do it justice. Okay, so we're going pretty sharply down here. Okay, get that bounce. What do? We actually, now I've drawn all over it. We actually take out the low. Normal, completely normal for options, but you still could have bought this at 3 and stopped down at 2, and you would have been fine because it never actually got that far down. You still had multiple opportunities to do that. And technically, just price wise, you could say this is like a shoulder ahead. I wouldn't call that a shoulder, but it's more of like a double bottom sort of shape. That's the framework of this. But with the options, anytime you're retesting, you make a low, you go back up, you retest, you're probably going to take out the low on the option itself, not necessarily take out the low on SPX or SPY for that matter. So that's what I was looking for. And I missed, what is this doing? I need my annotate. There we go. So I missed getting in down here. I was getting what we were set up to buy at 2, thinking, okay, we're going to pull down some more. Let me get in at 2 and stop down at 1. And then it didn't come back down any further. And then it started moving up. And at this point, it's up by 4. I'm like, okay, I think I missed it. I should have just still set it up buying at three, stop at two. So I did not set up the trade, and obviously didn't get into a trade I didn't set up. Let me just double check my broker. It's loading still. And then I don't know if you would have held on to the highs here looking at yesterday. Getting into this area, I think it's more likely probably just exiting at a previous level here. Also, if you're buying at three, I would normally look for 13, which would be somewhere in here. Um, so you're risking 100 to make 1,000. I love those trades. Um, okay, let me check my trades real quick, just to double check because it's not today anymore. Eastern time, it's not today. Let me check. It's still loading. Okay, so that would have worked. You also had, again, the double bottom framework, right? Here's a big S curve. What does it come down to? The neckline. Okay. So again, even though you've got this sort of a framework here, it's nowhere near the neckline here. But in the option world, those line up. You may not have wanted to be in this option, the 66.25. The 66.50 actually worked really, really well, giving you a better entry. Let's look at that. Keep losing my annotate. There we go. Let's switch this over to 66.50 because I'm always looking for $100 risk. How do we set this up with a $100 risk? Because that can scale, right? That's the plan. So look at that. Now we've left the double bottom behind because the neckline is here. We crushed through that here. Um, but this is setting up. You could obviously buy it at one at two and stop down at one. Very similar to all of this. Could have been buying at two, stop at one. Both of those would have worked really nicely. Got back into the open price as a good place to exit. So if you're buying at two, that was about two. Buy at two over here, stop at one. Your target's going to be probably six. So nice $400 gain. Risk 100, make 400. Those are great trades. Same thing here. Buy at two, stop at one. This pushes past. Your target is probably here at 10. And if it's there, I'd probably still do 12 just because I'm looking for that 1,000. And when that candle came in, you wouldn't have had time to move it from 10 to 12. It would have happened too fast. And hopefully you get actually positive slippage with the way that that candle came in, because this tagged like 18 or 19 or something like that. So that, yeah, all of that works really well. Okay, now on the flip side, on the bear side, so you're running into resistance. I keep drawing that funny. There we go. Running into resistance here. It's consolidating. What happens on that candle? You're definitely consolidating here. You're actually making some lower lows, lower highs. You get a really nice hammer there, and then that starts to move up. This option's a little more expensive for that. This is the 6600, which we are barely above. So I'd probably actually looking at the 6575 at this point, just for a much cheaper option that would have been around here, which still would have been out of the money when it moved to kind of a target area. Target area being the 100 here, and probably some of the earlier open highs. Not that it quite got there. But this is the one that I was in, and I'll zoom in on it. But later in the day, so we did all this. I was another option where I made a little gain right here. And had I had the patience for this, I moved my stop. I'm like, I just want to lock in, get another trade back from earlier. Um, or no, that was a different one. This was just a trade where I just moved the stop just because uh, it was moving, and then I'm like, this looks like it's going to retrace, and I didn't want it to run, so I saw the potential I could do that. Anyway, move my stop. Had I not and just held on to this would have been a great move bearish here. And that was with the 66.25 put. So that was a pretty cool trade. I'm looking at which orders now I set up and then canceled. There was the call. No, I'm not seeing it. Earlier I had, oops. Nope, I'm not seeing an order actually placed and canceled, so I don't even think I placed the order. The one I was talking about over here with the calls and getting in down here with the 6625 or 6600, whichever one it was. I was just saying. Anyway, so uh the one that I got stopped out on here was on that candle. That low is one right there. And I had entry to buy at two, and I get a great entry. Where was that? I'm gonna check what time that was. That was at 150. So at 150, it was like over here. I think I was like right around here somewhere is 150. So I'm in over here and ran up to past five or something. And by the time I saw that, it's like, oh, it's way back over here. Okay, my stop's safe. I actually didn't like that I had my stop right at the same level as this low. I'm like, no, it shouldn't come back down that far. Well, obviously going sideways for this long, even though it didn't even push and retrace, just going sideways lost that premium. So I was the stop out. I'll zoom in out, show you on this option. So buying at two, which was somewhere over in here at 150. That's the so exactly 150 is in the 148 candle. And then I was the stop. Here are the low. The low is at right at one. And I've had this happen before where I'm stopped out and then it goes without me. Or it goes 5 more cents past, like 0.95 is the low, and then it runs without me. So it's like, all right, this will happen again. So you have to just roll with that. And then it moved up too quickly. Well, it took 3 minutes, but I could have gotten back in. I could have looked at another option. Um, I was again looking for entry at two, target at 12 because we had been up here, and 12 was also pretty much in the retest area of some of this. But I think I probably, if I was in it and this ran up quick, then sharply pulled back, I think I probably would have been exiting around maybe four if I, had really re rethought it some. But yeah, that was a harder one to kind of look at because it's like, okay, it's rolling down. We're breaking down here. We pushed past. I thought it really could flush at this point, but it didn't do that. All the flushing happened yesterday. So that was almost all of it. There was one more thing I did want to look at on SPY. So let me pull that up on my other TradingView stuff. This was the main thing. Nope, that's the wrong chart. Oh, it wasn't. It was another SPX chart. My bad. Okay. So I'm not talking SPY at all today. Yeah. This SPX. Okay. So this is SPX again. And I know I've got a lot of lines on here. Um, this dotted blue line is uh, where the 100 exponential moving averages. So this was a line that I've got just I set these every day. I just kind of move around, especially when they're close. I may leave it for a couple days or weeks if we're nowhere near it. But I distinctly remember moving this up here, and it literally was right here. So obvious target. Didn't have so much room to go down anymore. But the main thing, so kind of ignore all the red, all the other colors here. They're not relevant to what's going on, but I can't just like hide them because everything disappears. So when I'm gonna turn all this back on, look at the purple. So the purple is this downtrend I've had in place, and sometimes it's lining up nicely, like this lined up pretty nicely here with this midline and this upper line, and then kind of holding there as well. And then we kind of got out of it up here. We didn't get up to this move. We didn't really slow down through here. But later in the day, yesterday, on our way down, we were really playing into that level, not so much the midline. And then we did get down to here, back to the middle. It's like, oh, hey, this looks like it's relevant again, especially because if you ignore that huge gap up, it kind of just held some of this. And obviously, you can't just ignore that, but it just didn't play out at those levels. So back down here, I'm like, well, what's going to happen today? We were chopping out. We opened literally right on it after breaking down. So we were back in that today. Couldn't get pushing up higher here. So it's like you knew something was going to try and sell off a little bit more. We did do that. Um, and then you're right into the 100. And then with this move back up, it's like, okay, is this going to line up with something? This is pretty close to the 100 on the 3 minute that we were looking at. And then we ran right back into this as a resistance. Again, it didn't quite exactly line up with this exact high. It was kind of this consolidation. But now having this downtrend on here, it kind of lines up with that. And then where do we go from here? We came right back to the midline. And where do we go up to? What's the next midline? And so I was watching this on this SPX chart when I took that bear trade, that trap trade here. And it's like, oh, it's going. And then obviously I should not have moved my stop so quickly. I was just looking to lock something in. This retraced, hit my stop. And had I just let it go, it traded back to here. I really would have wanted it here. But back to here, I think would have been the risk 100, exit it for 1,000 gain. That actually would have worked here. So lessons learned for me. And then the other one where I got in, I think on that candle and then went sideways for so long, went sideways for like half an hour after I was in. And I got stopped out there and then it went without me. It wasn't playing off of this anymore. But there was a great framework on this today, where we were into some of these levels that I've been tracking. I've got so many other lines in here, but I will zoom out. I don't even remember where this one in particular, all this purple came from. I'll go up another couple time frames. Let's see. Got other stuff on here. An hourly. Okay, so this was an hourly downtrend that I had on this stretch here, going back to late October. This is the all-time high. I was looking for some extension, and we ran into that when we tried to get back up here. And then I just put in some other levels as I was seeing, hey, you know what? We're kind of holding some things related to this range. It seems like it's working out. And then if you drill down into some tighter time frames, it was working nicely here. We got down to this extension midline. We bounced off of this one. There's just I'm looking at where are all these places that we're interacting and holding. And if it's still continuing to hold and relate to these levels, I'm going to look for trades off of them, you know? And so seeing all these touches, it's like, I'm going to leave this on my chart. So we weren't quite on it here. And that's what had me thrown off. I'm like, something, okay, this is kind of working some, but other times it's not. We weren't really on it here, here, here we were rolling back down from there, got back into it here. So again, I'm just watching all this play out and I've got it in a lighter color. So I'm not seeing it. It's not standing out sharply. But when I start to see it play out again, it's like, okay, what are we actually doing here? Is this really working? So it's continued to work pretty well. I'm just tagging all the areas. That's a lot of areas that it's actually worked. I can get rid of some of this. Right, that's a bunch. I erased one that I didn't mean to. There's one more. Here's some of this. So there's a lot of places that touch besides just what I had set it up with over here and over here and some more that's off the screen now. So I can't move it there. But you can see there's a lot of places that we touch. Whatever lines you draw, have some reasons for it, have some key setups. And then if it continues to work, hey, it's something you can trade off of. And so something I've learned is just being confident off of my own lines and trading off of that and utilizing that as some sort of confirmation that gives me the confidence that, hey, take a trade, that's a good level, at least I've got the justification here. And so essentially that's what I was doing with this place to short today. But I just grabbed a quick gain and I was happy with that for that trade. But ultimately, had I held on, I could have been into all this. So this one actually worked to get in at what was that, buying at 2. And no, that was a different option. Which one was that? That's the one where I bought at 3 and I had a stop down at 2. The stop never got hit, uh, but then it ended up running quite a bit. Let's just pull that up back on my TradingView stuff. So let me get this, or not TradingView, sorry, Thinkorswim. That was 66.25, and that was a great setup. So that was here today. And it was near the lows here. So I was in that's not the right thing. Okay, I was in at 122. So I was in over at 122, so somewhere in here, where I bought it three, actually got filled at 2.85. It bounced, went up to here, and then I just moved my stop up right below, no, right into this. I was on the 1 minute. This is the 3 minute. So this is what I was actually looking at with all that playing out. So I was good to get in um, at 122 right here. So I was in at three, but it filled me at 2.85. And then because it had pulled down a couple times, down pretty low, I moved after this candle was almost stopping me out. And then it moved up way up here to five. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to tighten the stop. And I tightened my stop to four just because I want this to run. I want to continue because I want this to be the true trap setup where I want it to just flush lower on SPX. This is the call. I want it to just flush lower and I didn't want any retracement. So if it was going to flush lower, that would have been a true trap. In this case, it retested, and then I got back in over here with the other option. So because it didn't do that, I mean, I was in this ready for it to just run, which it actually did over here. But obviously it retraced. I could have had the same entry, buy at three, stop at two, but I probably would have done the same thing, move my stop, just because I don't like when it pulls back this much further. I know it's not the most ideal entry. Um, but had I moved my stop up this time after it got up a little bit, there wasn't a key bear candle here to get my stop below. Like this one got it below here at four. I could have done that here after that bear candle and a stop at four, and that would have worked all the rest of the day while it continued to push up, even this consolidation. So that's just the difference of, and this is one of the things I'm still working on. Um, like I talked about, even though it's hitting my level here and it's rolling over and then retesting, it's retesting lower than that initial low or that initial level. And so at this point, that's where it's the better entry to let this run and just keep on going. And it just kept pushing higher, making higher highs on the put on this option. And I didn't get back to this option. So in that sense, I was early, but early and being wrong are kind of very similar in trading. So looking at it here, shorting here for the trap, truly trap, that worked. But the better option play is actually getting in bearish over here with this candle and letting that run. Um, you usually want to get in on the opposing candle color. So getting in on a green bullish candle, even getting in on this candle as it's making at one point, this was a green candle, a very small one. And then it reversed within that minute or within that 3 minute. But as long as you're getting it, you're getting a better option price when you're doing that. And like I said, the option would have filled me again at three and a stop at two. It would have worked fine. Would have worked better over here than it worked for me actually shorting the top of the day, which I was shorting at 122. So I didn't quite get the top of the day. I was in on this candle bearish, and I think this one made it a little higher. Yeah, this candle made it. So it was again, I was early there and should have let that sit and wait. But again, I was going off of the level that I had over on this chart and seeing, hey, we're running right into this. I'm like, I'm getting in bearish when it tags this midline because that's where I'm very confident that this is going to play out. But then I lost some of the confidence as it was coming down. So that's one of the things I'm working on and getting better at and making money from. That's the plan. But having a great setup is the goal there, and that was a great setup. It just retraced way more than I was expecting it to, but able to lock in a small gain when it didn't do exactly what I wanted. I wanted to flush at this level. Um, Even like I said, looking back at this, it didn't do the same thing. Right? Put in high, went sideways a little bit, chopped some more, slowly rolled down. Then it had a bigger candle here, like this one had a bigger candle here. So there's a lot of similarities, things to look at. But I wanted to be in for all of that, and then I actually didn't want to be out before it had all that move. But that's just me not playing it the best, getting a great entry, but early and not letting it play out and getting a better option rebuy or getting back into it later. So, yeah, a lot of stuff about how SPX moves. What I didn't go over is looking ahead. I think this again is looking very similar. We've got a candle with some really large upper and lower wicks. It looks very similar to the October 14th candle. That came 2 days after the big bear candle over here. I'm seeing this as kind of like bookends. I'm just curious how much more similarities are we going to see. But if we take out today's low, if we close below, I definitely want to see it get below this uptrend channel. Go look at yesterday's video if you're not familiar with all of that. But yesterday we took out the low of the 10th of October and the low of this candle. Now we're back above it. So it's like, are we super bearish? It seems like we're really bearish. We've not had really bullishness or really bull structure coming in. Um, but playing some of these levels, watching for these hourly channels, things like that to play out, looking for resistances to hold on smaller levels. Even this, let me draw this one thing in and then I should wrap this up. This was the kind of consolidation I had on here. We came right back into kind of that apex level here, 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 here. It's like 4 different days. And then we got below it here and here with these candles. We gapped up, crushed through it, and that's right at the midline of the 50% retracement. Midline meaning, sorry, I'm saying midline. It's not what I mean. The apex level over here seems like it's lining up very nicely with the 50% level of yesterday that we got into, that 66.50 price or right around there. Pretty close to the 50% of this candle. They're really close to each other. Um, all of that seems to be like a kind of a key level. If I just connect all of that, if I can draw a straight line, straight enough, right? There you go. If we stay below this now, um, really stay below it because we were already flirting with above it on that day. If we can really stay below that and not do some sort of thing like this and not get back into this line, if we can really stay in the bottom half of yesterday, there's a better opportunity for us to consolidate like this or to just go ahead and flush and start taking out these lows. That's what I'm going to watch for. I'm going to look for some of these levels I showed on the hourly downtrend channel that hold, and I'll take trades off of those levels again. Also watching the fibs. I didn't go over my fibs. We're definitely playing around in the fibs all day today, which was really cool to see. And that's the only thing I'm thinking about showing on the SPX, SPY stuff, but it wasn't it wasn't holding the levels um, as the downtrend line was today, the downtrend channel was today. So that's back on TradingView. I'll pull that over real quick. This is the only thing. This is SPX, sorry, SPY plus 0.01 just to see it. So we were holding with this level, kind of bouncing between these two. This is the 272, the 1.272, and this is the 1.382 here. And then we were starting to roll down and then getting back into it and then rolling down. I'm like, I don't like the interactions here. It seemed too sloppy, too choppy. And then once we started running, it's like, okay, we're back up into this range of the fibs. And so I was looking for plays up in here, missing that down there, but it wasn't holding the level really nice. We were kind of putting in, you could say this is like a very small head and shoulders here. And then we were kind of holding this as somewhat of a neckline, retracing that. So I was seeing that as the reason to get back in on this candle because it's like, okay, maybe that's playing out as a neckline. That's a good fib level. That's um, the 618, the 1.618 level on the fib. And so I know these numbers and I've put actually, I'll go back to the daily here. What I did is I actually put alerts so that it's going off during the day. So I put alerts on all these fib levels just to have them. So go back through yesterday's video to see those exact numbers. But I had fibs going off during the day. It's like, oh, hey, look, we're past that level. But then it wasn't really sharply bouncing off of that level. It was playing through it. A little bit of like a neckline thing here. head and shoulders sort of neckline thing here and this one. So that was again just the fractal, the similarities of what I was seeing as the day played out. So didn't want to get into all of the SPY plus zero point zero 0.01 stuff again as much as I did yesterday. But really hope this helps. This was a lot of fun to go back through how the day moved today, and we'll continue to look for how we're interacting with different levels and get some great setups off of that. Really hope this helps. This is Justin. Thanks.